Call our meeting to order tonight. Renata, if you could do the roll call, please.
Gookin,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
McEvers,
Here.
Evans,
Here.
English, Miller.
So let's rise, and we don't have our pastor with us tonight, so we will jump straight to the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you, if you'd lead us, please?
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So tonight, Councilperson Miller is absent, and unfortunately, her son was involved in a motorcycle accident in Portland, and she sent me a note that she wanted me to read tonight, and this is from Councilperson Miller, and she said, "As some of you have heard, my son was hit by a drunk driver a week ago. He was life-flighted to a hospital in Portland. As of now, he's been cleared of any neurological or internal damage. He's had numerous surgeries and is making good progress on the road to recovery. We certainly appreciate the kind words and prayers that have been sent our way. I want all to know that it is not lost how extremely fortunate I am, and I am eternally grateful to be sharing that I will be celebrating this upcoming Mother's Day with my son. Thanks again for your thoughts and prayers, and we are very appreciative, Kiki Miller and family." So tonight, our thoughts are with Oscar and Kiki and their family, and hope that he gets well very soon. So thank you. So we will move on. We don't have any amendments to the agenda tonight. We have a presentation. So our presentation that we have tonight is our CDA 2030 presentation. And then Nicole Coeur is here with us tonight, and Mayor is with us as well. Welcome.
Good evening, council members. Good to see you all in person. I'm Maren Meyer. I'm the vice chair with CDA 2030 this year, and I'm here tonight with our executive director, Nicole Coeur. And we're here to present a little bit of an overview about some of the great things that CDA 2030 has been up to, and also a bit of a refresher on the organization. So we have a brief video that I'm going to share that we put together last year, and it kind of highlights some of our events and also CDA 2030's 6 focus areas.
CDA 2030 is a community-based project organized to create a bright future for the greater Coeur d'Alene area.
My vision of Coeur d'Alene in 2030 is to have my grandkids have a place to live, work, and play.
My vision of Coeur d'Alene in 2030 is Coeur d'Alene will be a state leader supporting kindergarten through 3rd grade literacy efforts.
My vision of Coeur d'Alene in 2030 is a diverse, thriving economy.
My vision of Coeur d'Alene in 2030 is affordable childcare.
My vision of Coeur d'Alene in 2030 is more job growth.
My vision of Coeur d'Alene in 2030 is affordable housing.
So in addition to those 6 focus areas, CDA 2030 has identified 8 of what we call our core principles, and these really are the main principles that are guiding our organization. For example, we have strengthening relationships, which is how we support connection with our community organizations, our government, and our local citizens. We have a monitored living document, which refers to our implementation plan. That's an ever-changing, evolving, and updated document. We strive to be an unbiased organization. We're really a neutral convener of our partners, and so on. We have 8 of those. We wanted to kind of create a visual representation of our principles because they are going to tie in a little bit later with some of the projects that Nicole's going to highlight. Our leadership consists of a board of 20 members, and we have 5 committee members that volunteer as well. We have a marketing and implementation committee that they volunteer for. Since our board was created in 2014, we've had over 50 community members serve on our board. The organization is staffed by 1.5 full-time employees. We have Nicole as our executive director, and then we welcomed a new project coordinator, Lindsay Beecham, who's in the audience tonight. She joined us last year. And as a nonprofit, we would not be able to operate without the support of our community sponsors and partners. So we wanted to list our 38 current sponsors, and of which 33 of them are recurring sponsors. And we're also very grateful for the City of Coeur d'Alene for your continued support and partnership. Our current implementation plan has 180 action items that were compiled from community input. And each year, the board identifies certain priority projects that are based on timeliness of current issues, that offer opportunities for partnership, community initiatives, and projects that we know we can add value to. So we track those projects back to our action items in our plan and then show the progress that we're making on those items. This year, we've identified 5 projects to focus our efforts, which include housing, early care and education, lake management, the Envision CDA, and our East Sherman revitalization plan. So in the interest of time, we're not going to go through all 5 of these projects, but we do want to briefly share about 3 of them, and Nicole is going to do that for us.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's great to be back in person. So the first action that I'm going to talk about is our project around lake management and specifically education. We all know that the lake is important for public access to our citizens as well as water quality and preservation. It's also one of the key features of our community. Not a lot of cities in North Idaho have lakes like we do, or even in the nation is a better way to put it. Our focus on education is really to influence responsible stewardship and awareness while the governor's third-party study through the National Academy of Sciences is taking place. And this is really just an overview of the lake data. Also, it's very important to note that the governor just announced that he'll be adding $2 million to the DEQ budget for nutrient reduction projects. And so this is definitely something that we want all citizens aware of. So how are we doing this? We're doing it through the RGEM Coeur d'Alene Lake Collaborative. The collaborative is a team of committed and passionate professionals that you see up here on the screen, and we are working to preserve lake health as well as protect water quality. Through our collaborative, we work to strengthen relationships and communications between agencies and organizations as well as your common citizen. We've been working with the collaborative on efforts since the first symposium in 2014. Another project that we're doing with the collaborative is an online speaker series, which we started during the time of the pandemic. We've had 7 online speaker series which featured water and development experts around the state on various topics related to Coeur d'Alene Lake. A popular one that CDA 2030 organized was an Atlas Waterfront series, which talked about design considerations that were made to protect water quality, as well as how citizens can be responsible stewards as they utilize this new waterfront property. The next speaker series is slated for early June. The collaborative also has been working by drafting a number of articles in the Coeur d'Alene Press. So to date, we've had 28 articles published, and they've ranged on topics from stormwater management to best boating practices to aquatic invasive species and lawn care. One of our CDA 2030 representatives, who happens to be a professional engineer, also did an article on roadway design and maintenance, specifically for private driveways and roadways. Our articles strive to include scientific data as well as a call to action for citizens. These are really intended to spark action and alert citizens of opportunity for community involvement. We know that some of these articles have had over 8,000 views online and that over 1,400 copies are being distributed by print. So we're really excited about the reach. The next thing that CDA 2030 is doing with the RGEM Collaborative is we have drafted and released a survey to assess how to better provide citizens with resources and information about the lake. It's an important step in improving communication as well as community involvement, as our main goal of the collaborative right now is to inform, and engage prior to the release of the National Academy of Sciences study, as well as any decision that the governor might make or other agencies. Our survey was released on Friday and will run through the first part of the summer. We are trying to incentivize citizens to take the survey by selecting one participant who will win a stay at one of the North Idaho State Park cabins. This survey is available at uidaho.edu/lake survey. So the next project that I'll talk about is housing. There's no question that housing is a priority for our community. It's a challenge that we all need to get our arms around in order to make a change. As you have probably heard, everybody has their stories about how housing is a challenge right now. This citizen on the screen describes how her grown children can't afford to live here in their hometown. And she also really fears that the service industry won't be able to survive very long without employees that can live here in the community. I think we've seen just in this past week, a lot of restaurants are either reducing their hours or just having a call for employees. So it's a pretty big struggle. What CDA 2030 is doing right now to help with this process is really on the education and data collection side. We're creating housing profiles to really try to kind of take some of the pushback and terminology that some housing projects have had and put a face and name to it. So we intend to provide data that showcases what we are at risk if we don't provide housing for all income levels. By definition, we are going to be creating profiles for families and individuals who fall in the workforce, attainable, and achievable housing ranges, as you see on the screen. We will make connections to Department of Labor wages and careers, financing budgets through conventional financing, market availability, and more. In the interest of time, that's all I'm going to tell you about tonight, but we hope to come back to you later with a presentation of these housing profiles. For housing, we also serve on a number of task force and committees. We hope to add our expertise. Again, Maren said we have 20 board members that are in many sectors of the community, as well as 5 committee members that have donated their time. We also work to engage citizens on public input opportunities, just like right now the partnership is offering a survey for one more day. In the end, we also will provide our housing profiles as a tool so that these committees have them for information when they're developing solutions. Next, I will talk about, and I guess lastly, I will talk about Envision Coeur d'Alene, which is a major long-range planning effort that we've been undertaking with you and the city since 2019. The collaboration between the City of Coeur d'Alene and CDA 2030 will produce a vision and implementation plan, which will be a validation of our 2014 plan that CDA 2030 released, but with new relevant action items. There also, as a part of the plan, will be the comprehensive plan that will meet all of the new state requirements, which I know you've heard a lot about. So a major aspect of our involvement in Envision Coeur d'Alene was really the community engagement process. So far, as an Envision team, we've helped launch a community event. We've held a community launch event, played the Growing Better Places game, posted online surveys, and worked with focus groups and the Community Advisory Committee to draft a plan. Over 11,500 data points have been collected from more than 1,400 individuals. When we calculate the hours that were put in to draft the plan, over 700 hours have been volunteered from Community Advisory Committee members, focus group members, leadership team, and the CDA 2030 board and committee members. On this night, you'll see maybe a familiar setting. This is a picture of the game night, which was played just prior to the pandemic hitting. We did 40 of these throughout the community as an Envision team. CDA 2030 really enjoyed spending the time with some of the NIC students playing the game, as well as we held different community events at places like Coeur d'Alene Fresh for anyone who wanted to attend. In June, we're really excited. We're going to be going back out as an Envision Coeur d'Alene team and hosting a virtual open house so that citizens can provide feedback on the draft plan. So just to go over the plan framework, the document will include a community vision, which is really what is our roadmap to the year 2040. It will also be followed by guiding principles, goals, objectives, priority actions, and a future land use map, all of which include information from the community input that we gathered from the very beginning in 2019. The plan will be stronger and more detailed than what we've had with our plan that was released in 2040 and what the city last released as their comprehensive plan in 2007. We will continue to work on this document and be the neutral conveners to enhance collaboration and to spark action. So in closing, we are the organization that's held responsible for moving our community's vision and plan forward. We're leveraging the talent of our board and community partners to the benefit of our community. We're excited to continue the work. Thank you for your time and continued support.
Thank you, Nicole. Questions, council, for Nicole or Maren? Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hello. You're really, how many projects are you involved in?
So right now we have 5 priority actions.
No, I mean total.
Right. So our current implementation plan has 180 action items.
Holy cow. But you said 5 are like the priority right now?
Right now, our board is working on 5.
Yeah. Are any of those, in any of those 5, is CDA 2030 the lead agency?
So aspects of the work we are, I'm just going to, I hope this isn't bad for those on Zoom land. But in housing, we're working specifically on leading the housing profiles, the data reports that are going to kind of paint a picture of who lives in our community and what they're able to afford.
Good.
For early care and education, we are on on the task force and have served in that role for quite a few years. But that action specifically is led by the United Way, and I know that Carrie Cedarquist has come before council and spoke with you. Mm-hmm. Lake management, we are leading the role in the survey. So we also contribute to the speaker series and also the articles, but we're leading the survey. Envision Coeur d'Alene, that's our partnership with the city, and you know a lot about that. And then East Sherman Revitalization Plan, also a partnership with the city.
If you guys withdrew from any of these, of the priority projects, would any of them stop?
I think the larger picture is, kind of what we're supporting, our, kind of our reach and our engagement and awareness. It's not that we are the lead in creating these projects. I would say that, will the housing situation continue to be a situation? Yes, it will, but we're out here as really a joiner of a lot of these other organizations, whereas I don't know that there is another community organization that is pooling these resources at the level that we are.
I'm just trying to gauge, so there's been accusations made that you guys are unnecessary. And what I'm trying to see, we're giving you $40,000 of public money around there. What are we getting for our money? And so if you're just kind of attached to these things, that's different from leading them, if you understand me. So I think out of all the 5, you mentioned that the housing is kind of the one that you guys are the lead on. Is that correct?
On the profile piece that we're creating.
Just part of it. Okay. Can you also, I was asked a question by a citizen regarding an Innovia grant. And I don't really know much about that. Can you tell me what happened with that?
Sure. So we, when Innovia used to be the Inland Northwest Community Foundation, we started working with them. They really liked the fact that our action plan was laid out in a way that they could pick actions that aligned with the work that their funders were supporting. So we did a literacy project with them. It was $600,000 over 3 years. And so there was a number of literacy initiatives that took place for 3 years. We actually closed that at the end of the 2020 school year. But many of the actions are still being supported by some of the partners in the project.
Cool. Also, the other issue that seems to come up every time 2030 comes around, we hear people talking about transparency. Did you want to comment a little bit about your transparency and specifically, I mean, I don't see the meetings being open to the public and your budget. And anyway, those are the questions I was forwarded, if you want to address those.
We did include our annual report in the council packet, so if anyone wants to take a look at that, it's in the council packet and also on our website. We are making some improvements to our website to try to bring more information out. Our website is the original website that we posted with the project, and so we're trying to develop that more so there's more information specifically about our projects and how people can get involved as well as our organization. But I guess on a transparency note, we do follow all of the nonprofit laws, including our financials are posted. Our tax returns are posted.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other council member have any questions? Christie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, thank you for your report. I guess the way I look at your organization is if each one of these entities had to go out and find someone to do the surveys, collect the data, bring the data back to us, the city would probably have to hire 2 project coordinators full-time to let the public know what we want them to, give them the opportunity to comment on. Because I assume that you're going to come back to us with the 2 data points that you talked about that you're collecting. You said you are doing the survey, and then my question was, who are the results provided to? I'm assuming we will see that. Maybe I'll let you answer that.
Sure, for the lake survey?
Yeah.
Yes, the RGEM Collaborative is going to use it mainly so that we can broaden our reach as far as education and awareness campaigns, but we'd be happy to share that information with anyone who wanted to utilize the data.
Okay, and then there was another data that you're collecting for the housing.
Okay.
And will that be something that you're bringing back to us, as well as a number of organizations?
Yes, so what you're referring to is the Housing Growth Issues Partnership. Did I say that right? I'm sorry, I didn't get that name. So I'm sure that Kiki and Hillary are also going to be sharing those results with you. We're helping with reach, like we posted it on our social media accounts this week, published it in a newsletter, and also encouraged our 20 board members to share that opportunity broadly.
Well, I think there are questions from citizens from time to time. Exactly what is 2030? What do they do? What's the value? What I see you as doing is filling the gap that we would have to hire someone to do. If we want this information, if we want to push out projects that we're working on, certainly the comp plan, we have essentially hired you to help us with that. And so I don't have issues with the fact that we use your organization. But I do appreciate that you come forward and you're able to detail more for the public. The transparency issue is something I think that they probably have the hardest time understanding. Since you are a 501(c), you are not open to public meetings. You're not open to distributing your meeting minutes. And so I think that's the hardest thing for people to wrap their minds around. Like, why not? We're giving you public money. Why not? I'm part of other 501(c)(3)s. We don't take any public money, but even so, our minutes are not distributed. So I don't know that we're ever going to find a real clear answer to that. The question will continue to come up, and it's really going to be up to the entities, the organizations such as the city and the others that you work with, understanding what value you do bring to the table, what things you have collaborated well with us on. So those are just my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Christie. Anything else? Amy?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you. I know that you've put a lot of time and thought into this, and I've been a big advocate for you guys to come visit us here. And so I appreciate all the work you've done in this presentation to help educate my colleagues, but as well as the city, on all the great work you're doing. And I personally am really looking forward to the results of Envision and the comp plan. So again, just thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
So now we go on to the public comment portion of it. Anyone wishing to address the council on any city business should have 3 minutes to do so. Anyone wishing to come up and give public comment tonight? All right, not seeing any public comment, we will move on to announcements. Any member of the council have an announcement tonight? No announcements. So Woody,
Yes, sir.
you're up.
Wow. I would like to move to approve the consent calendar as presented, including Resolution 21019.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? Roll call, please, Renata.
McEvers,
Yes.
Gookin,
Aye.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Move on to General Services, Public Works, Resolution Number 21-027, approval of the purchase of one patrol vehicle and related equipment. Chief White.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm coming before you this evening, as you just said, to look to purchase one vehicle. How this came about was we were doing our budget preparation for this upcoming budget season, and in looking through our needs in terms of vehicles, I was told by our equipment manager that a patrol vehicle had been previously ordered by another law enforcement agency and currently sits at a lot here in our town. And since we have budget savings, I thought this would be a good opportunity to perhaps reduce our budget ask for next year. So this really wouldn't impact it would reduce our budget ask for next year. We have budget savings from vacancies that we currently have in the police department. We have 3 currently, and we're expecting at least 1 more retirement, if not 2, before the end of this fiscal year. And so we have the funds available to purchase this vehicle. The vehicle itself is $33,500, and then, of course, all the stuff that goes into it, including radios, computers, cameras, lights, prisoner transport equipment, and other safety equipment, is $37,500. So I'm here before you tonight to ask approval to spend that amount of money to purchase one vehicle and the related equipment for it.
Council questions for Chief? Christie?
What kind of car is it?
It's a SUV, the exact same that we're driving with the rest of our patrol fleet, just a Ford Explorer.
That's great.
Explorer, that's right.
I know you need more than one, but I guess you'll pick them off as you can. So I think that's a great use of the savings that you have acquired.
Any other questions for Chief? If not, we'd be looking for council action.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve resolution number 21-027, approving the purchase of one patrol vehicle and related equipment.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
McEvers,
Yes.
Gookin,
Aye.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you, Chief. Move on to resolution number 21-028, approval of a contract to LaRiviere Inc. for the Atlas Road Transmission Main Project in the amount of $831,287. Terry?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Not there.
Let's see what these guys are doing here. There you go.
Huh.
Okay. Wow, it's nice to see a familiar setting after 13-plus months of chaos.
Yes.
So, very happy to see that. Some
Oh, it
sense of
was.
normalcy in an otherwise crazy world.
Old. Oh, God.
Well, as mentioned, I'm here tonight to bring before you the bids for the Atlas, or the second phase of the transmission main project we've been working on for the past year. This one is along Atlas Road from Atlas Well to just south of I-90, and it will be in the roadway. Here's an idea of what it looks like along there. We'll be laying the section in the roadway. There's very little real estate left along the outsides of the roads, so we're pretty much obligated to that point. There was a question raised in General Services about whether this was engineering and what the schedule was. In 2012, we did a water comp plan update. That was done through JUB Engineers. And they did some modeling of the system and utilized growth projections from planning and other various KMPO organizations to generate planned projects as they saw growth coming along. So we were looking at a new supply for the general zone in approximately 2022. So what we originally were going to use the Hutter well and pipe that clear down to Mill River, but it would have created some high pressures in that area. So it wasn't really conducive to do that. We hired Welch-Comer to do this transmission main project, and they had a suggestion of taking Atlas well and redirecting it to the general zone with this segment of transmission main and utilizing the Hutter well to replace the Atlas well in the high zone. So it was much less piping. We didn't have to acquire easements and right-of-way along Hutter that don't exist at this point. So this kind of worked in our favor, shortened the length of the pipe we would need to install, and was more favorable for pressures. That doesn't really show up too well. I was just trying to show you what the congestion is on Atlas Road there. There are gas lines, overhead power lines, fiber communication, and cable running along the sides of the road. There's an existing water line that will stay in place because it's a portion of the high zone. So that's really going to be a tricky project. We had 5 bidders on the project, with Le Riviere Inc. coming in as the lowest responsive bidder. We did have the engineering consultant review what they submitted. They came in under the engineer's estimate. Everything seems to be in order. So our proposal is to go ahead and award the bid to Le Riviere Inc. and authorize a contract for construction of the Atlas Transmission Main project. Unfortunately, this year, the chaos still continues, unfortunately. PVC pipe is extremely difficult to get because of the freezing weather in Texas where the resin is manufactured. It destroyed the plant that did this, so we're looking at the possibility of not getting pipe for 9 months. But ductile iron pipe is readily available. So we've opted to go ahead and utilize ductile iron pipe on this phase of the contract. It is lined with a cement mortar, so there's no fear of rust or any contamination like that. It works very well. It's actually designed for these types of projects with larger pipes. It's more durable, and it's been around for 75 years. So there won't be any problem with longevity on that. It's still readily available, so they'll be able to get it. We're planning to do construction this summer after school is out, so we don't inhibit bus routes, and we'll be working with the city engineer and streets and engineering department to notify the public well ahead of the project and make sure the neighborhoods are aware of what traffic will be rerouted, and I think it will work very well. Riviera is very familiar with our construction standards, so I don't see any issues with it. So we request that council award the lowest responsive bid and approve a contract with Riviera Inc. for construction of the Atlas Transmission Main.
Thank you, Terry. Questions for Terry, council? Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for bringing that all the information. I love the technical nerdy stuff, but driving on Atlas the other day, it's a terrible road. Sorry, Todd. You know it's terrible. When you dig it up, are you going to be like making it better along the way? Is there any?
We'll be replacing the asphalt with new asphalt for over what we're doing, which is probably almost half of the roadway.
Okay.
So it'll be a new layer of 3-inch asphalt. It'll be regraded to whatever grade they're going to now. We originally, when we started this, we were looking at doing a combined project with them because there was potential of funding to do the reconstruction of Atlas Road, but that funding evaporated, so it left us on the hook to do this portion of it. So.
And in the big picture, so what we're doing is we're taking water from that area, which has plenty, I'm guessing,
Yes,
and
it does.
moving it down to this area
Yep.
or somewhere near here where there's going to be a potential that there would be problems if we didn't do this.
Right. At this time, during the summer when the irrigation is going, we have to pull water from that zone through pressure-reducing valves, which affects the pressures in those areas. This won't affect any pressure in the high zone. It'll direct it directly to the zone, to the general zone, and probably benefit about half the people in the city.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
So.
Any other questions for Terry?
I got just a quick one. Terry, so we talk about moving water around and this redesigning of upper and lower and high and low. How many wells are we running in the wintertime just to flush and do what we do when we're not watering?
Typically, we're running 2 to 3 wells, about just under 6 million gallons a day in the wintertime. During the summer, when irrigation is running, we're running 10 wells full blast, sometimes during the evenings, and we need more. That's why we're completing the Hutter well. So this will help alleviate some of that. It will also help with some of the growth that we're seeing. So it'll accommodate the Atlas project and the Lance Douglas project and some of that in the general zone.
So growth and landscaping.
Yeah.
So the big users.
Right. One of the unique thing with this well that we're doing, we'll be able to use it for each zone. We still have lines connected to the high zone. The well is still designed so they can still pump to the high zone if we need to, so we could switch this one back and forth as needed, which is something unique for a water system.
Nice.
So Terry, we go from 3 to 10 wells just to keep grass green.
Just to keep grass green.
Yeah.
Approximately 75% of our production capacity goes to irrigation, with residential being the biggest. And when we do the budget presentations, I'm going to have some graphs for you folks to look at, so you can see how that really turns out.
Other questions for Terry? If not, we'd be looking for council action.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve Resolution 21028, approving the contract with La Riviera Incorporated for Atlas Road Transmission Main Project in the amount of $831,287.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Buchan?
Yep.
Wood?
Yes.
Miller? I'm sorry, Evans?
Yes.
And McEvers?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you, Terry. Move on to resolution number 21029, approving a naming rights agreement with Idaho Central Credit Union for the Riverstone Park Amphitheater for a period of 10 years. Bill Greenwood. Welcome, Bill.
Good evening, everybody. When Atlas, I got Atlas on the mind, when Riverstone was built, John Mueller, the architect, had envisioned a shade structure over the stage. We couldn't afford it at the time, and so it had always been in our minds that we would like to do that at some point. The Arts and Culture Alliance and Ally have been using that stage for almost 10 years, I think 2012. They tell me that's endearing term for that location is the frying pan, so it needs a little bit of shade. Ally came to me a couple years ago and said, what do you think about me spearheading a fundraiser? And I said, cool. And so she started getting some money in their coffers. And then she was, this last year, approached, she made a pitch to ICCU, the credit union, and they offered $40,000 towards the project for naming rights. She also received $40,000 for an anonymous donor. After the article went out in the paper, I was contacted by an individual that I sent over to Ally, and who remains anonymous, and she also received $35K from Ignite. They, the Cultural and Arts Alliance, have, I think, 11 in their coffers. So we have plenty of money to get this done. We'd like to go ahead and let ICCU be recognized for their contribution. The Parks Foundation would handle all of that as far as the management of oversight of that, just like they've done here at behind us at McEwen for the Quanian's boat in the splash pad and then Rotary Harbor House. So they manage those as well, along with Thurco Field. They would hold the monies. I would give them the invoices from the contractors, and they would pay that outright. So we don't hold the money ourselves. So what we're looking for is for you folks, the Park and Rec Commission approved this as the naming rights, and then again the Parks Foundation would hold that for us for the duration. I think it was 10 years. And then ICCU has the option at the end of 10 years to re-up if they wanted to throw some more money at it. And then we would, if they didn't, we would pull their sign down, recognizing them. And if they did, the sign would remain.
Okay. Questions for Bill on this? Are there any I'm sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bill, tell me about the sign.
Say that again?
So they're getting naming rights.
Correct.
How does that fit? We got a picture up on the screen. Where would the name be if
Well, I'm
that's
thinking we might have a sign built that might go in this shrub bed that would face the audience. So I think for that donation, we could put together a pretty nice looking sign that would go there. I think a small little plaque down here would probably be too minuscule. They're, putting something on these poles. And we have not engaged them as far as what they would like to see, but my suggestion is going to be a spot right here where I'm showing it.
Do they get like veto power or suggestions over that? I mean, can they say, oh, no, we want a big
Strongly.
neon sign that says, just like on our buildings?
Well,
Can you do that?
Well, for example, when we did the naming rights for here, the club, SS Qantas, they put that on the boat, so we worked all that out. The same with Rotary. They wanted to put the Rotary wheel on the harbor house itself, so it's about a 4-foot wheel that we fixed there. So we'll work with them and make it right where it doesn't overpower the stage. So that's why I think something really nicely done here, maybe in the same vein as we did Ron's in a wood type that we did over at Persons. I'm not certain what that might be, but we'll work it out with them, and I think we'll come up with something that'll appeal to everybody.
Thank you.
Christie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, Bill did this presentation to Park and Rec, and then Ally came and talked a lot
And
about.
Ally's here today, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it talked a lot about the entertainers who use the stage and how important this is. And so the group, Park and Rec, was certainly sold on the idea. That's been a long time coming. As far as the sign goes, Bill, you did a great job, hopefully making NIC sign
Didn't that look nice? It
huge
turned out
at
good.
Memorial.
Yeah.
And so, however you come up with this sign, I completely trust you on that. It's just a great project, and it's sometimes for naming rights, it's worth it for what you get. So I would say good work on that.
Without it, we wouldn't be able to provide this. And again, this is not just for that stage being used on Thursday nights by the Arts and Cultural Alliance. It's for anybody that stays up all year.
Yeah.
All season, rather, and I'll take it down in the fall. And it'll be for anybody. If they want to have a wedding there, it's there for their use as well.
Nice.
Any other questions from council? If not, we'd be looking for council action.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 21-029, approving a naming rights agreement with Idaho Central Credit Union for the Riverstone Park Amphitheater for a period of 10 years.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm just not a fan of the naming rights thing. I mean, when you see a stadium and it's like, Qualcomm Stadium or Verizon Stadium, I always, this seems though, I mean, that's why I asked the sign question. I just wanted to make sure this wasn't going to be a big advertising sign for them. It's, going to be modest. And I
recognition.
appreciate the donation. I really do. I think that's more in the spirit of what I want to see as opposed to the whole, Verizon Stadium type thing, if you understand me.
Understood.
But thank you.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
McEvers,
Yes.
Kukin.
Yeah.
Motion carried. Thank you, Bill.
Except for that NIC sign.
And then council, next is Council Bill Number 21-1009, approval of amendments to municipal code sections 405070 and 405090 regarding the Parks and Recreation Commission. Bill?
So this is a house cleaning item for the Parks and Rec Commission. They've been talking about this for a while. Our student representative is part of our quorum, and our student representative quite often is absent due to the fact that during the duration of summer and then vacations and holidays, it's difficult for us to get a quorum at times. And so we want the student to be there so they can have a sense of what we do and get that experience, but just not be part of the voting of the quorum. They can vote, but it's a I guess, it doesn't have the strength as being part of the quorum is what they're wanting to do.
I know the feeling, yeah.
Yeah, and then so the other piece of this is that we cleaned up something in the verbiage for the person who represents the school district. We broadened that a little bit to allow for people that may have worked and were hired for the school district. So that still, it just broadens our pool of choices. And then the other piece of this was about absenteeism. And so we decided that if someone should miss 3 in a row, 3 strikes you're out kind of deal, that would be up to the chair to make a decision to ask that commissioner to step down. So those are the 3 major changes within that.
Okay. Christie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, we had a lot of thoughtful discussion on this, led by Bill. First of all, our Park and Rec Commission, they're a great bunch of people. Most of them have been with the commission for
20 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really dedicated volunteers. And the students are great. Our current student, she's
She's
fabulous.
great. Yeah.
But it is a problem, especially in the summertime, of trying to get that quorum. So we agreed completely with Bill on these revisions, just to know how the committee felt.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions for Bill? If not, then we would be working through the process of getting this approved.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to dispense with the rule and read Council Bill number 21-1009 once by title only.
Sounds good.
Motion, a second. Any discussion? Roll call on that, please. Renata?
Wood?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
McEvers?
Yes.
Gookin?
Yeah.
Renata, if you could read the title, please.
Council Bill number 21-1009, an ordinance providing for the amendment of Coeur d'Alene Municipal Code Sections 4.05.070 and 4.05.090, providing for the repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for the publication of a summary of the ordinance, and providing an effective date thereof.
And then one final piece of business there.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt Council Bill number 21-1009.
Second.
Motion, second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Wood?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
McEvers?
Yes.
Gookin?
Of course. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. We'll move on to other business. This first one is East Sherman Proposed Development Plan and Spending Authority to improve the city-owned properties at 1516 and 1620 East Sherman. Hillary.
Great. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm excited to be here before you to talk about the East Sherman city-owned properties. And this evening, the council is being asked to authorize staff to proceed with our proposed development proposals for these properties and authorize spending authority to improve the properties. And as you'll see on here, the dollar amount is now in asterisks. I have some exciting news. We have a $5,000 donation that came in today. So that's going to help offset some of our costs.
Are you able to say who it's from?
Yes, so Chad Oakland called me this morning and said,
Very
hey,
cool.
I saw your thing. I really want to make this park happen. This is really important for East Sherman. It's important for the community. And I'm not asking for naming rights or anything, but I wanted to make this happen.
I take back everything I've said.
So very generous. So anyway,
That's really
it's
nice.
exciting. So a little bit of the history. So you are very familiar with these sites. I've been before you a few times. And so the city took ownership of these properties officially in December of 2019. And then staff came back to you last August to ask for the authority to move forward on the demolition, abatement, and improvement of the properties. Council at that time said, let's just clean them up. Let's not take action yet. We want a little more details on how you plan to improve them. And so at that time, we were granted the authority to do those improvements, demolition, abatement, and kind of just clean it up for $79,465, and then we waited on the other information. So here are some photos showing the previous conditions before the demolition. So you can see the 2 sites. So the first one on the top is the former Star Haven Motel between 15th and 16th Streets. And then the one on the bottom is the former Sandman Motel at the corner of Sherman and 17th Street. So current conditions, so the city staff worked together. So we had Streets and Engineering and Parks and Rec kind of work together to clean up the 2 sites, get those improved, and make sure that we didn't have any issues with stormwater issues over the winter. We were able to do this, the soil tackifiers and put up the silt fencing and things like that, and the concrete barricades to make sure people wouldn't get onto the site. So they've been sitting like this. They also did some kind of temporary swale areas, again, to deal with the stormwater at the time. And so I'll be talking to you now about what we're proposing. So we have the three departments are really here together for this request. So in the audience, you have Bill and Todd to answer any specific question for their departments. But so it's really a request from Parks and Recreation, Streets and Engineering, and Planning before you this evening. So I'll start with the one at 1516 East Sherman Avenue. And so this one, after really evaluating both sites kind of in the context of East Sherman and what we've heard from community members, what we've heard from council, and then also just the location of this one more mid-block, it doesn't have the same features as the one at 17th Street. And so staff is recommending for this one that we just do kind of the minimal improvements. Let's make it clean and green. Let's get it cleaned up. Let's get some microclover, some irrigation. We can do some large rocks to keep people from driving into there, but really not put a lot of investment or money into it at this time. And that leaves our options open. And I'll talk about that kind of for the long term. How do we program this or whatnot? But this makes the most sense from staff. I'd like to hear from council on that. But it can be used as a pocket park. It just doesn't have the same amenities that we're proposing for the other site. So for 1620, just in the kind of the context of where it's located, it's on the corner, which is really advantageous. It's right on 17th Street, which allows it to function also as a festival street if we were to close off that street, or if the businesses or the neighborhood said we want to do a bigger type of event, probably not this year. But if we could kind of tie that in with the park, that has great opportunities for it, as well as just kind of the businesses on that block. There's a lot of interest and excitement. So on this one, we're looking at more improvements. Really, let's make this a usable pocket park for the long term. And so looking at a lot of the landscape improvements going beyond just microclover. So looking at a mix of trees, looking at some shrubs, ornamental grasses, flowers, some decorative rocks, having a porta potty, an ADA accessible porta potty with a shelter, having a concrete stage area for performances, either acoustic or amplified. There will be lights with power that will support performances, as well as lights throughout the park, and then there'll be power on those as well. So if we had vendors that had tents and wanted to have some light or some power to those tents, that would be an option as well. Below grade stormwater is something that I think is going to be a great opportunity on this site. So instead of having a large portion taken up by a big swale, it's below grade, so it's designed into it. So you won't see it, but it'll still function in that way, which is very innovative. There will be a new sidewalk on the east side of the property, so along 17th Street. And then there will be new ADA ramps, so at the northeast corner, so at 17th and Sherman, as well as, you can see on this kind of bottom right, there will be ADA ramps here from the street, as well as next to where we're going to be having some new public parking, including an ADA van stall. And so that'll be a great amenity. And on that topic, with the stalls in the alley, and then by removing the approach here on Sherman Avenue, we'll gain 11 total public parking spaces, which is great. So it really is that balance of pocket park and public parking. So we're excited about that. And then we're also leaving an opportunity for a sign. So if we have someone that comes forward and does do a sponsorship or naming rights, things like that, have an opportunity for a sign for the park. And then also opportunities for possible kiosk, an information kiosk has been talked about in the past with a lot of our community stakeholders and leadership committee and the public saying, well, maybe this could be like a mini little visitor center, or maybe it could be a kiosk for kind of the East Sherman businesses with a map of that and some of the businesses listed. It could also be a map of the Coeur d'Alene area, information on the community, and then also opportunities for public artwork. Here are some images just to kind of give you some design inspiration of how the space could be used. We think could work really well for street fairs. It could be little farmers market, things like that, as well as having performances. We're not proposing these, improvements with the shade shelter at this point, but again, that could be something in the future over that concrete stage. And then there will be, once the park is a little more established and Bill gets a sense of how it's used, there'll be some benches and picnic tables added as well to kind of make it more usable. Here are some of the trees that are being proposed in addition to the microclover. So we have a variety of trees that Bill has kind of been looking at to kind of enhance the park and add a lot of color and interest. And so looking at a dogwood, we have hemlock, metro gold maple, red oak, western red cedar, and little leaf linden are the trees that are being proposed to be added to the park. That might change a little bit, but that's the goal, is to add some variety. So for timing and maintenance, so if we get the green light, both departments are ready to move forward. Let's get those improvements going, and once the microclover is established, then the park spaces can be used, which is very exciting for our community members. I wanted to talk a little bit about consistency with the draft revitalization plan. I know council hasn't approved it yet, but you've seen it. So there's a lot of great information in this plan that has come forward from community input and information from our planning commission, city council, and our leadership committee. And so you've seen this map before. So this is kind of the map that shows what is the area of East Sherman. And so in the center here is what we're calling the core area, and both of these sites are located within that with these little stars kind of highlighting that. And so that's kind of really just shows that this area is more kind of central and should have some different features. So it's great location to have these pocket parks. It's very central to the neighborhood. There are some draft action items in the plan, and two of them are just perfectly aligned with this. So the first is, let's evaluate these St. Vincent sites. This was kind of coming together, this draft plan, at the same time City Council was looking at purchasing the properties. And so this one has already really been done, that we've kind of evaluated that, and now we're coming forward to you to say, this is our proposal for improvements. And the second one being, evaluate opportunities and funding to design and to construct the Event Street and/or pocket parks. So perfect alignment with the plan in that way, as well as the timing, kind of it was shown 2021 to 2025 was the timing for that. The goal of it, as you can kind of see here on the right side, is really creating more community gathering spaces. So creating places for the community to go and enjoy being outside, being together, having events, being active, kind of healthy lifestyle, things like that. And so in the plan, the draft plan, it talks about having a side street that could function as an event street, and then also looking for sites to create pocket parks, just as we're proposing this evening. Here are some other goals that are in that draft plan, and the ones with the yellow stars really support the proposal before you. So the first one here is support an active and healthy lifestyle. The next one is offering a positive and lasting impression of our community. This one is a community gathering place, and then the last is a safe and family-friendly atmosphere. So it's also consistent with our newly adopted Parks and Rec Master Plan. So if you can see here on this map, in this vicinity, right there is a proposed neighborhood park, and that's exactly in the location we're looking at, which is fortuitous and really supports the need for parks in this location. So we were asked at the time that you gave us the blessing to do the demolition and abatement to look at a long-term use plan for both sites. And so we really did that, and this whole process is kind of looking at what makes sense. And as I mentioned, staff believes that the one at the 1516 East Sherman is great for a pocket park for now. Let's not put a lot of money into it. But it also leaves the door open, so in the future, if we find an opportunity and we want to do a land exchange, or we can do a public-private partnership and create something that is a community priority for our residents, then this is a great site for that. Or if it came to it, it could be a land surplus or something like that, that we could sell the property. The 1620 East Sherman, we really would like to have this be a long-term amenity for our community members, make this a pocket park that lasts for the area. So financial analysis, a breakdown of that. So Parks Department kind of looked at all their costs that would be required, and I'll note that they have money savings from both capital and operating budgets. And so their total that they've anticipated is $9,300. Streets and engineering, $15,000. Again, they have some savings from their winter budget. And so I won't go through all the items, but there are a few where there's improvements required on both sites. So the hydro seeding and the microclover, in the irrigation, and then grading, of course, are on both sites. And then as noted here, we have a donation to help offset our budget savings, which is great. So there's also future potential. So, we, as noted in the staff report, Bill Greenwood has worked trying to secure some naming rights or some kind of sponsorship from Coeur d'Alene Rotary as well as Sunrise Rotary, and those have not panned out to date. But there are other organizations that we could certainly approach if council thinks that that's important to look at naming rights. You also received some additional letters of support today. One came in from the Coeur d'Alene Association of Realtors, and they have offered that they would like to work with us to volunteer labor hours as well as to pursue grant funding. And so they worked with us previously on Person Field, now Ron Ettinger Park. And so that could be a great opportunity as well to bring in some other funding for this park to help offset any city costs, or if there's other amenities or improvements we'd like to see. So again, the naming rights could work well, and there could be some signage that could be placed, so I just put some kind of inspirational signs. Again, I talked about the kiosk that could be informational and mapping. Sponsorships and donations, maybe there will be other people like Chad that generously step forward to say this is really important to us and we'd like to help offset your costs. And then also just there could be revenues coming in from use of the space. So could see that happening through farmers markets, the street fair, things like that, block parties, any of those types of events that could happen, beer gardens, et cetera, et cetera. Another thing that I already mentioned, so that 15-16, we're still keeping that opportunity open for the future. So right now, let's improve it, make it clean and green. It's usable for all community members, but we really have other opportunities in the future for financial support. So I already mentioned the draft revitalization plan for East Sherman and the community input that we received on that and how this really aligns well with that. We also, at our 2019 Parking It on Sherman event, we had community members vote. And so the top two ideas that they thought were the best for these two sites were to do a year-round farmers market or kind of a cooperative market. And then the second one was the pocket park with interactive uses. So we're excited that that aligns with it. We also had met with our leadership committee previously, and they had expressed support for these ideas for the pocket park and some additional public parking for East Sherman. We'll be reconvening that group now that we're able to meet more in person and bring some new people onto that committee. We have a lot of new business and property owners in East Sherman that want to get engaged, so it's exciting. And then, as I mentioned, we have 9 letters and emails that came in showing support. Plus, I looked on the Coeur d'Alene Press Facebook page, and we had 12 likes and loves and positive comments, no negative, no angry emoji faces or anything. So it's nice to see. So here's a list of some of the people we heard from expressing their support and really encouraging council to take action to approve the request from staff this evening to make these green pocket parks for the community's benefit. So with that, the decision point recommendation is the City Council should authorize staff to proceed with the proposed development plan for the 2 city-owned properties at 1516 and 1620 East Sherman Avenue and authorize spending authority for up to $24,300 to complete the project. With that, I'd be happy to stand for questions or pull Bill or Todd up.
Questions for Hillary? Woody?
So Hillary, with Chad's money, you're about 29,000, yeah?
Oh, so this is, we actually would only need, if we were to just subtract it out, we'd only need $18,400.
Okay, so you're telling me we can build 2 parks for $24,000? Really?
Well, it's being done in-house, and that's the nice thing, right?
Okay.
So a lot of the things, even the trees, Bill said we have them in our nursery.
That's
We have
awesome.
irrigation supplies that can be used, so there's a lot of things. Yeah, it's amazing if you look at.
We should probably do more stuff ourselves, huh? I mean,
Right?
you don't have to do a design guy or a
Right?
architect and all those things. Wow, that's really, and all of you guys stepping up, way to go. That's really cool.
Go, Christine, then I'll come back to you, Dan.
Thank
Christy,
you.
go ahead.
Well, just a suggestion, since you're taking suggestions, on the 1620 project, if you take a look, Bill, if you take a look at the BLM property that's now in control, that NIC has control over, we did the rocks and the trees as an educational opportunity. So we have Fernand Elementary, you have Sorensen, you have Lakes Middle School, that all could maybe take field trips. And all you'd have to do is, they have the barcode and they can understand the geology behind the rocks, what the trees are. It's an educational opportunity and an affordable field trip. So you might take a look at what NIC did there.
Thank you.
Great idea.
Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the money's cool. It's nice that we have money, but I'm more concerned about time, especially with the streets department. How much time is it going to take? And how much of a crew are you going to need, Todd? You might as well start walking up here. How much time is it going to take, and how much crew are going to be pulled off of other projects that, of course, are your priority? Yeah, he's the first victim.
Go ahead.
So Todd, tell me how many hours and what other projects, would impact?
Oh, well, we've been working hard, got an early start on some of our big projects this spring because of the lack of rain. So we're we're trying to get ahead. We propose that we would start working on these two parks, mid to late May, get ahead of our summer. We have a crew of 3 people that we would put on it basically because we started that 95 swale off of Northwest Boulevard so early. We have a gap for our drainage crew that they can be working on this. Concrete crew, I think we've figured about 2 weeks for the bigger park, and then basically our part of the mid-block park is just some rough grading and stuff, and then that's going to be more Bill's effort. We're not putting any power there. He's going to do all battery-powered irrigation at that location. We will be utilizing our electricians, at 17th Street. They'll probably have 2-3 days in there to put the power. So, it's going to take up a couple weeks, but I think we can afford it. We're a little bit ahead because of the early spring.
Well, I hope you're right. 2 weeks seems like a lot of time because there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
There is. Our crew, they're really productive when they get in there with the equipment. They can regrade that lot in pretty short order. Most of the materials there already. We're not going to have to haul in too much dirt. We're going to create some material when we excavate for the sidewalk and stuff. So we've put a lot of time and effort into it. So I think, a lot of the material we have is stuff. We have some lights that didn't get used somewhere, so we're going to be able to put those lights in. We don't have to wait for the ordering, saving on cost. So, I'm comfortable with 2 weeks. I think we can fit it in.
Yeah, I'm still ouch on that, but I'll take your word for it. By the way, the swale project looks outstanding.
Yeah, we're getting close. Just a little footnote on that. We're putting in some water features off of the pipe that was just installed, so hopefully in the next couple weeks that'll be finished and ready for the first rain. So.
Very good. Thank you. Bill?
We don't have any time.
Thank you.
But we'll make it. So when we first began talking about this, we didn't think we were going to have the problem we're having with our staffing. But my staff, we love this kind of stuff. This is what we really do really well at. The off stuff is fun. I've had 3 people volunteer to work the weekend to get the installation of the irrigation in. So each one of those sites will take a day. It's small enough. So we can knock that out. We come in behind Todd. He'll do all the hard surface material, and then we'll put everything in after that. Again, the Realtors Association asked to help on some labor. There was only 14 trees. We'll pre-dig those, and maybe we can work out a time where they can come in on a weekend. But my staff can get the planting done in a couple of days. The grading is going to take a little bit more. We might need somebody out there to do the fine grading. And then it will subcontract the microclover to be hydroseeded in. So total time for us might be 10 days. So 2 weeks, 5 working days. I know I'm being maybe optimistic, but it's not a very big site. If we run into troubles, where maybe I can't imagine what it might be, because like Todd said, the smaller site is battery-operated valves, so it's a day to put that system in. We're going to rent a trencher, lay the pipe, set the heads, and we're going to pre-build the manifolds for the irrigation valves themselves. We'll pre-build what you call the swing joints. It's a knuckle-type joint where the head, you can adjust it. So if it gets hit, it moves, and then you can adjust it when you set the grade. So we'll have all that stuff in advance. So we're just laying in pipe and trenches and gluing fittings. So it shouldn't take much time. Like I said, within a day, the 3 people that have signed up, Jeff Erickson, our used to be our irrigation technician, and so now he is our superintendent. Robert Cooper in the cemetery, he's really adept at irrigation. And then Jared Odell, who works here, is pretty good at irrigation, and we might throw a seasonal at them. But they can do each one of those sites in a day, each day. So I'm real comfortable with that. And then all the trees too that she mentioned, we have at our nursery.
Good.
So we're not paying any money for those. We have those. The only ones that we may have to purchase are on the west side of the property next to Moontime. We have some, we'd like to put in some red cedars and maybe some hemlock, so it kind of shields that from their parking lot. Sometimes the hemlocks and cedars are hard to find. So if we can't find them, we'll wait, and maybe it'll go in later, but we might get what we need, and we might change varieties to something different. But we're saving quite a bit by having that stock at our nursery already.
Mr. Mayor, one more?
Yes, Christine.
And Bill, by taking this time, the 2 weeks to get it done, do our residents be able to use it this summer?
After the seed pops. So I like to keep people off it and let it, really get solid. It should have a couple of mowings on it so it hardens up. So, and I'll say this, I'm excited about the microclover, and I'll tell you right now, I'm ignorant about it in that today, standing here, I would say that I would have lots of experience if it had gone down at Atlas like I'd hoped. And so the read on it is such that I believe that it will work really well. If that's not available, we'll do something different that uses less water and might be more drought tolerant. So there are types of fescues out there. Instead of what we normally use as bluegrass, it really takes up a lot of water. So we're looking at some alternative grass choices that maybe grow a little slower and don't require as much water. And so whether it's micro clover or whether it's a thing called eco turf is one I'm looking at as an alternative, it'll be fine. But it'll need a better part of a month to get up and running and a mowing on it before people should go walking on it.
Maybe by the 4th of July?
Maybe by the 4th of July.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this? If not,
Oh, and one more other thing. Excuse me, I
Okay.
forgot to tell you. So our staff, we bought a mill so the last windstorm, we have a chainsaw mill, and we cut the lumber for the porta potty structure. It's already done, all dimensional. So we're not going to be buying that. The only thing we'll have to buy are the metal roof and some expanded metal for the sides. We're thinking about maybe making it a hard surface where it's just might be stained wood. But anyway, just as another thing where we save some money, and our crew loves this kind of stuff, they were able to mill their own dimensional lumber for the porta potty structure.
Very
Great,
cool.
great, thank you. So we're looking for council action then?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I just think this is a great addition to our community, both properties, and I would be honored to make a motion to authorize staff to proceed with the proposed development plan for the 2 city-owned properties located at 1516 and 1620 East Sherman Avenue, and authorize spending authority of $24,300 to complete the project.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Renata.
McEvers,
Yes.
Gookin,
Yep.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Motion carried. Before we got started on our final 2 pieces of business here, I wanted to commend Bill and his crew and all the work that they've done in Forest Cemetery. I don't think that anyone realizes the damage that was done in Forest Cemetery. And I walk up to the riverfront one to visit my mother every month and say hello to her, and then I wander over to the Forest Cemetery. They had guys up there. One of them was on the very top of this tree, because there's some of those trees that they got to get rid of because they're damaged. And so I asked the one guy, says, I bet you're glad that guy's on the very top of there. They said, no, I'm kind of ticked off because he got to and I didn't. At the very top of this tree. But, your crew, I mean, that is such a historic part of our town. You'll walk through there, you see names of people that made this community, and your staff has done a fabulous job of coming from a great storm to put that back together. So I wanted to thank you for that. Okay, Troy, you're up. This is resolution number 21-030, the approval of donation of art pieces Coeur Leonis and Noto Thistle to the city's public art collection. So you're up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Brandon will help me out here. Yes, what a great presentation you just had, and I'd like to bring forward some other good news for you tonight. Our Arts Commission has done some really great work, and I would suggest to you that your art collection is moving others to want to donate to this great art collection in Coeur d'Alene. So in '99, we started with an Arts Commission and a public art policy. We have updated that in '08 and then again in '17. And tonight I bring forward to you a couple pieces of art that are being proposed to be donated to the city. The first one, as the mayor said, was Coeur Leonis. It's an 8-foot tall structure. It is coming to us, if you accept it, from Palm Desert. And the originator of this art is a Mr. Michael Ford Dunton, valued at $35,000. And catch the names of the donors, Mr. and Mrs. Dunton. So there's a very close relationship to the artist and the donors. They live here in Coeur d'Alene. There would be some shipping costs and a little bit of installation cost. The art fund would take care of that. So that is a picture of the first one. And a second donation is being proposed. This is in our Art Current program where the artist built this. It's been on display. We've had it for a number of years, and he is willing to donate this art piece that's valued at $6,200. The Arts Commission unanimously approved of these donations. Again, the Art Fund has the dollars to make the move of Coeur Leonis up here, and we will work with our departments to get them installed. We take some suggestions on where you might like to see this, as well as the donors will ask them. So again, this is one of those continuing positive movements that doesn't cost us a whole lot of money to add art to our community. So I would stand for any questions on these two art pieces being proposed to be donated to the city.
Questions for Troy? Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Troy, we spoke about this yesterday, and this is original art, good pieces. Can we put them north? Because I hear comments that, we always keep all the art is here downtown. So can we suggest that these go somewhere north of the freeway, perhaps to decorate something that needs a little cheerfulness?
We can. Yep, we're open to suggestions on this. You just looked at a great pocket park project, and that would also be outside the urban renewal district. So right now, we are open to suggestions. I obviously am going to give the Duntons an opportunity to put in a location as well. So it is wide open at this point.
Thank you.
Christine?
I would just, first of all, what a wonderful donation by all of them. And Ford Dunton, I think he was deeply attached to IFI, wasn't he?
I believe you're correct.
Yeah, he's been around the community. The Duntons have been stalwarts in this community for a long time. So how good of them to come forward and donate.
Any other questions for Troy? If not, we'd be looking for council action.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve the donation of art pieces Coeur Leonis, I hope I said that right, and Noto Thistle to the city's public art collection.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Wood?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
McEvers?
Yes.
Kukin?
Yeah.
Motion carried. The last piece of business tonight, approval of the purchase of public art piece entitled The Climb in the amount of $9,000. Troy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Artist Nathan Robles made this art piece, and we have had it on display at the City of Coeur d'Alene. Your Arts Commission approved it and liked it a great deal. We almost had a deal a little over a year ago from an outside buyer, which is what this Arts Current program is set up to be. In so doing, the artist would win when it sells, the Arts Commission would get 25%, and someone would take home a beautiful piece of art. That deal didn't come together, but we had negotiated it quite a ways. So when the Arts Commission said we'd like to explore adding this to the city's collection, I enjoyed speaking with Mr. Robles and said, we almost had a deal sometime back. Would you take $9,000 net for this piece of art? He responded quickly that times are tough and that he would be honored to enter into a transaction with the City of Coeur d'Alene for this piece of art. Our Arts Commission did think of a location for this one. They would propose that it goes down in the Lake District. It has to go there because it's coming from dollars from the Urban Renewal Lake District. And the proposed location would be in City Park, very near the entrance coming off of Independence Point, or the parking lot there. And so annually, our Arts Commission has been looking at art currents and the pieces that they like the most, and seeking to acquire them at a reasonable cost and adding them to our collection. So I'm here tonight on their behalf to present that, and it's a very sturdy piece. The Arts Commission looks at that very soundly in order to make sure it's going to hold up and that it is well built and all the good things that go with a long-term art piece in our collection. So, Mr. Mayor and Council, I would stand for any questions on this proposal.
Questions for Troy? If there aren't any questions, we'll be looking for council action.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve purchase of the public art piece entitled The Climb in the amount of $9,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Renata.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
McEvers,
Yes.
Gookin.
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you, Troy. Appreciate it.
Mr.
Now-
Mayor, before you adjourn,
Yes.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, okay.
But I want to give you, especially you, the opportunity to talk about Mr. Hagedorn and what he meant to this community. Certainly, long-term partnerships with the city of Coeur d'Alene. I only briefly knew him. I know that he was a dear friend of yours, so I wanted to give you an opportunity.
Well, he obviously, I think the quote that I gave is, it was an end of an era. When it's hard to imagine Coeur d'Alene without Dwayne Hagedorn. I arrived in Coeur d'Alene in 1963, and Dwayne was already in business and doing great things for our community. And so it's hard to believe that Dwayne is gone, but he certainly has left a legacy. I think when you look at the projects that he put together, they're always quality projects. And it'll carry on. Brad and Todd Hagedorn will both carry on their father's legacy and make sure that the grass is green at the Coeur d'Alene Resort and the geraniums are red. They are committed to Coeur d'Alene, just as committed as Dwayne was. So he did a lot of great things. Fabulous business person. I know Woody had a chance to work for the organization as well, and boy, he was a budget genius, right? There's a reason why that he was as successful as he was, because he always planned, always had a budget. You would have loved him, Danny. You love a plan, right? And he was a planner and a budgeter, and had vision that has done some really great things for Coeur d'Alene. And he will definitely be missed. But I know that Brad and Todd Hagedorn will both carry on that legacy in Coeur d'Alene.
Well
Thank
said.
you
Thank
for
you.
that opportunity. So, guess we're done, right? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.